good evening and welcome to 360 Sports on Trust Television, where we talk about sports in and outside the country. And of course, you know, sports is a lot of action. So let's begin the action on a very warning note this morning. I'm talking about warning or probably urgent mode, as the Minister of Sports and Youth and Sports in Nigeria, Dari, is tasking Interim Management Committee to resuscitate the domestic league. Now, we're not putting it down to just the Nigerian Professional Football League. We're talking about all the local leagues in Nigeria. We're talking about the NPFL, the NWFL. We're talking about, you know, some of the competitions that people do not really pay attention to in Nigeria. We have lots of competition that could fetch a lot of money for us in this country, but it seems we're not taking advantage of it. So we're being joined this morning to discuss, this evening rather, to discuss sports by Suleiman Shuaibu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here.
All right, so now Dari is tasking the interim management to actually resuscitate our local leagues. You know, before there have been warnings when the IMC, the LMC committee were constituted. It talked about the Nigerian Professional Football League, which of course we've not seen the light. It has not seen the light of the day yet. The new season has not started, and then now he has spread his tentacles now to all of the leagues in Nigeria. Do you think that is something that is achievable in this season, or is something that will span a very long time before we can achieve that in this country?
So it's always interesting talking about leagues in Nigeria, because the reality of the situation is this. There are things that you can do that will actually promote these leagues. What we want is we want people to watch these leagues. That's the honest thing. So first of all, are there mechanisms in place that are improving the awareness of this league? That's number one. Number two, are you supporting the press coverage of this league so that people can actually see these leagues? Number three, how well are you doing in facilitation of recruitment program? Is your recruitment program devoid of any form of corrupt practices? That's number three. Now, for any league to be successful all around the world is that, let's look at what exactly is driving now. What is driving now is culture, is attention. You need to inculcate a level of culture into these leagues. Now, you look at Cadiz, you look at Atletico Madrid, they're actually trying their best to get some sort of understanding of Nigerian culture, because there's a fan base there. But are we doing the same? Are we trying to get memes? Are we working on our Twitter handles? Are we working on the PR of these teams? We are not doing that. That's the honest truth. So let's look at Mr. Easy. Mr. Easy is a Nigerian musician, right? Mr. Easy is collaborating with the Ghanaian Premier League. And why is he doing that? Because he knows that at the end of the day, we'll get benefits, we'll get some synergistic benefits, we'll get some returns. But you know, if you do that with the Nigerian Premier League, you are not going to get that. So till they actually put in place these methods, these mechanisms, these processes, we're not going to grow. And are they really that concerned about putting these mechanisms in place? You put them in place, then definitely people are going to watch. It's at the end of the day, you have to put it in people's faces. You have to work with influencers. You have to work with people that are in social media. You have to make sure that people want to watch it, because we have a very vibrant footballing culture in Nigeria. We do have that. We have a huge fan base. Look at fan bases around the world. We can rival probably anybody, but we're not utilizing it. So that's just the honest truth.
Okay, so you think that we have to put all of these things in place. So how many years are we looking at if we decide to put all of these things in consideration and see how we can resuscitate our local leagues in Nigeria? Okay,
first of all, financial backup is very important. PR is very important. If you start now, then we're looking at probably a 5 years plan to actually drag people's attention. But that 5 years plan can only work or be effective if the resources that are being put in place are actually utilized to an optimal level. If you don't utilize them to an optimal level, then we'll find ourselves in the same position in the next 5 years, thinking about things that we can put in place that will resuscitate the league. So I'm looking at a 5-year plan that can be drafted. We look at how exactly we can work on the PR. We look at how exactly we can work on mechanisms in place to increase awareness. We look at how exactly we can work on recruitment. Look at scouting. There are so many places you go, you see talent, but you don't see any scouts there. In places like America, developed countries, you go to places, you might just see young boys playing football. We've heard the story of Harry Kane. When Harry Kane was a kid, you know Defoe, the footballer. There was a time that Defoe just went to play football with Harry Kane. So we're looking at an established English international just going to play football with kids. And that could have brought awareness to that place, which will then lead to scouting of talent in that area. Do we have that in Nigeria? Are we ready to do that in Nigeria?
We've been doing a lot of scouting. I see when you go to some of these small pitches, you see people playing football. You see some of these coaches coming. But the problem is, are these players being exploited or being asked for a lot of money that they could not, remit at the end of the day? Because it seems you're sourcing for these people and you're taking them out of the country, because that seems to be the last resort.
Okay, so first of all, that's what I said. How can we prove that our recruitment process is devoid of any corrupt practices? Now you're talking about scouting. I dare anybody involved in the scouting process, come and show me your scouting database. Let me look at it analytically. I dare anybody. They can't. Because you know that there's so much corrupt practices in place. They are not doing their job effectively. They are not competent enough. Because if they were, you look at the talent. I play football. I have friends that play football. I have friends that have said that this guy has potential to be one of the best footballers, not just in Africa, in the world. I've seen them. But the people that are supposed to see them are not seeing them. I'm seeing them, but I do not have any power. I do not have the power to put anybody in place to actually be a successful footballer. But the people that have the power are not recruiting properly. They are not scouting properly. They should show me your database of your scouting. Let me see. I dare you, anybody, come and show me that database. Let's look at it on an Excel sheet. You can't.
So now, do you think that, this scouting market in Nigeria has been clouded with a lot of, money bags, people promising to take you out there, or it's not just done the right way, and that has contributed to the negative impact we're having in our local leagues?
Okay, to be fair, I don't want to put all the blame on scouts, because we are looking at it. Now, a young Nigerian footballer that's coming to the Nigerian league, he's not looking at promoting his career. He's not looking at the well-being of his career. He's looking at the glitz and glamour of life. He wants to earn thousands of pounds. And realistically, it's not going to happen because we don't have that level of investment in our Nigerian football leagues. So, what I'm trying to say is that young potential footballers need to understand that you are coming to a game where if you achieve your potential, you get to the top. But you cannot just rely on talent alone. You need to work hard. There are so many people that I see talking about they want to come and be vibrant footballers. They want to play football. But at the end of the day, it has to do with, I want to play football outside the country. I want to play football outside the country. If we establish the talent level that we know we are capable of in Nigeria, then definitely the sport will grow in Nigeria, and which will lead to a higher fan base. It's that simple.
We're waiting for that day where we have higher fan base for football and other sports in Nigeria, because trust me, we need to do more. And it's a good thing that the Minister of Youth and Sport has come out to say that, the management have to do something meaningful to take it from this level, just this tiny level, to the next level or to the highest level, I mean the local leagues. But away from the round letter games, let's look at a game which has gained a lot of prominence in Nigeria and outside the country. We've seen Nigerians doing their best, and I'm talking about weightlifting. Now, they're saying that weightlifting will have a major tournament. It will be a tournament on its own, and that's what is being put out there right now. Weightlifting to have major championship in 2025 to serve as an Olympic qualifier. It's coming from Ibrahim Abdul. Do you quite agree with that? Weightlifting, we've seen women and men in Nigeria excel in the local weightlifting championship and also internationally. We've seen in the Olympics, we even see in the Paralympics games, we see weightlifting being held in a very high esteem. Do you agree with it being a championship on its own?
It could be a championship on its own because it's very fascinating. Look back when I was a kid where we had World's Strongest Man. It's not the same, but it's more focused on the strength and effort rather than technical ability. So he always has this allure. People want to see how strong this person is. People want to see how well this person can lift. And what I actually like this idea is that it brings spotlight to the sport. It brings recognition to the sport, and people deserve it because I know that people work a lot. They put into a lot of effort, determination. There's so much resilience in this sport, and at least they deserve to be highlighted for what they've done for the sport. And why I actually like this is that it brings transparency in the selection criteria. So when we're actually selecting who's going to represent us at the Olympics or major events, we want to ask the questions. What exactly was the protocol, the procedure for selecting these people? The person that we're having representing us, is he or her the best person? And now we can actually see the spotlight being highlighted on them, and there can actually be references, there can be evidence that we went through a proper and rigorous selection criteria, and we have ascertained that this person is the best Nigerian to represent us at the highest level. So I have no problem with it. I think it's interesting. I'm very happy for the sport where it's going to.
Okay, so being happy for it, yes, it's another thing, and then keeping to promise and taking it to the next level. Of course, you don't just make promises and make it a championship and then it starts crying like all the aspect of sports that we have in Nigeria. But let's move on to outside the country, where the Women's Championship, the Champions League, is still ongoing. There are fixtures to be played today. We've been seeing the likes of Villasna Femera and PSG in action. Real Madrid Femina and Chelsea women will be in action. Then we have Wolfsburg ladies and Roma will be in action as well. Then we have St. Pölten women and Slavia Prague women will be in action for today. Which of this match will be so interesting for you? Because we have Real Madrid women and also Chelsea women. Chelsea is like top of the table right now. They've been playing and they've been maintaining that feat for a very long time. And then Real Madrid, we see some kind of inconsistency with Real Madrid and other clubs that have shown that have fixtures for today. What do you think?
Chelsea, Real Madrid, definitely. Chelsea at the top of the game. They've been brilliant so far this season. Real Madrid, we know what they're capable of, but they've not shown it on a consistent basis. Now, what we mean by that is that we need to see them show more often that they want it. We need to show them, see them show more fight, show more grit for this. So Chelsea women versus Real Madrid will be a very interesting encounter. PSG, Villasna Femera will actually be another interesting encounter. We'll see if both teams look evenly matched. They've been really good this season, so we get to see who exactly is the better side between PSG. So I think interesting set of fixtures. We'll have to wait and see. It's a waiting game. We'll have to wait and see how exactly it's going to pan out. But I think Chelsea women will get the edge over Real Madrid. PSG Villasna probably a draw. Wolfsburg ladies Roma femininely. I think I have to give Roma out on this one, and St. Pölten women and Slavia.
Why are you giving Roma out on this one?
I just feel they'll get the edge. That cutting edge, being clinical at the end of the day. I feel Roma will definitely supersede Wolfsburg ladies. So, and Slavia women, Pölten women, I would go for a draw.
A draw at the end of the day. Oh, they're not doing very well. Both teams are not doing very well. But let's see what happens at the end of the match. And right now, let's move to the men's team. Okay, the club football getting interesting right now. Like I said before, a lot of teams are eyeing, a lot of clubs rather, managers, technical committee are running after the player that they think could actually do wonders for their club. And one of them is Borussia Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund will be willing to sell Jude Bellingham next summer for 100 million to 100 million euros, 100 million to 150 million euros. To acquire players, to acquire another, that's something that Borussia Dortmund need to come out and say. But looking at Jude Bellingham, at Borussia Dortmund, they're willing to take him out now. But don't you think the fee is a bit high, or do you think he deserves that high amount of fee to be sold out?
First of all, it's just basic economics. The higher the demand, the higher the price.
Yes.
It's that simple.
Exactly.
It doesn't go away from that. But Dortmund, they're actually in a fantastic position here because they know that teams are going to go all out in a bidding war to get Jude Bellingham. And that will now give them the incentive to actually raise the price as much as possible, because at the end of the day, his talent speaks for itself, and we know that there are definite buyers. My thing with Jude Bellingham is that, let's go back. I think the greatest ever midfielders England has produced is Gerrard, Lampard, and Scholes. And I feel that there's a possibility, if his potential is actually achieved, that he might be able to break into that bracket. But I'm looking at Jude Bellingham now, and I'm saying, if he goes to Manchester City, does he take Bernardo Silva's position? I don't think
Hardly.
right now he does.
Hardly.
If he goes to Liverpool, they already have Thiago Alcantara and Fabinho playing that position. Are you going to play him in the number 10 behind the striker, or are you going to wait for him to grow more? And he's 19 years of age. We have to remember that. I know he's definitely not going to Man U. That would be a wrong decision. I'm a United fan, but let's call a spade a spade.
Okay.
And with Chelsea, I don't see how well he fits into Chelsea, considering that they've been heavily inconsistent, and we do not even know if Graham Potter is going to be there. So I understand that PSG, I just think, will be a wrong move for him, because I feel he's a potential England captain. So I think he should play his football in his national league. So I'm looking at Jude Bellingham, 150 million euros for Jude Bellingham. There are so many young talents you could get, and we do not know if this guy is going to live up to the hype. Don't get me wrong, I'm not doubting his talent. I'm not questioning his ability. But I'm looking at 150 million euros, and I'm saying it's a little bit high and drastic to pay for Jude Bellingham. But I guess it's one of those things that I don't think, I've actually done a lot of research on this Jude Bellingham situation. I don't think that any team has their right foot set in the door right now on who is going to sign him. There's still a possibility that he finishes the season at Dortmund, and let's wait and see. But he hasn't done his stock any damage in this World Cup, because he's been scintillating and he's actually nailed down his position. But I think it's at the end of the season that we're actually going to understand where exactly he's going to be going. But for now, I don't think it's speculation, and we'll just play the waiting game.
Okay, these are speculations, but we'll keep tab. We'll beam our searchlight and see what move Borussia Dortmund would take on Jude Bellingham. But right now, let's look at another person who has been said to be greatest of the time, or best of their time. I'm talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. Is actually of course, in a state of a dilemma, making a decision right now. Right now, he's yet to make a decision regarding an offer to join Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr. Though in the start of the week, I saw a lot of people saying that, oh, he has signed, he has agreed, he has signed a contract for 2.5 years. And right now, it's just a state of dilemma for Ronaldo. Moving from Manchester United, you know, with a lot of backlash and what happened, and then moving to Saudi Arabia. A lot of people have, you know, speculated that he might end up with MLS and all that. Now we have a team from Saudi Arabia. Don't forget that we have 2 teams coming from him from Saudi Arabia, and a lot of speculations has pinned him to Al Nassr. Do you think that is a good move? Do you think he will accept this move?
Okay, first of all, there's so much speculation saying that he has signed.
Yes.
I can tell you that with 100% certainty, he hasn't signed. He's focused on the World Cup right now. But the thing with Ronaldo now, let's put things into perspective. Cristiano Ronaldo is on £500,000 per week for a 37-year-old. He's going to be 38 February next year. Cristiano Ronaldo left Manchester United on bad terms. And I personally feel, as Ronaldo fan, as somebody that has loved this guy, adored this guy, and admired this guy growing up, the fact that he was left out of the starting lineup for Portugal in a knockout game, for me, was the final nail on the coffin. And I feel at this point we need to understand that the journey might actually be over. Cristiano Ronaldo, he doesn't have suitors in Europe. I don't think anybody is willing to take on £500,000. There's always been this option that he might reduce his wages, slash his wages by 50%, because we know that he's as rich as he wants to be, and he doesn't necessarily need the money. But they are still not interested in him because there's so much drama around him. There's this Ronaldo mania, there's this Ronaldo circus. Every single thing is always about Ronaldo. It's not necessarily his fault, because you can see against Switzerland, all the cameras were on him. He didn't tell the cameras to be on him, but that's the kind of superstar he is. So my worry for Ronaldo is that where exactly does he get a suitor other than going to Saudi Arabia? But the thing with Saudi Arabia is that you have to start moving your family. It's a different culture. He hasn't played out of Europe for once in his career. He needs to go to the Middle East. There are so many things around this deal. Yes, £200 million is a load of money, but is money really an incentive for Ronaldo right now? He makes more money in ads than he makes from his salary or wages. So that's just the honest story. So I'm just saying, but as Ronaldo fans, every single person that has supported this man, adored this man, I think we need to come to the realization that with Cristiano Ronaldo, the journey might be over. And it's really sad, but it might be over. Because Ronaldo still feels he has so much to offer to the game. And this is what I cannot wrap my head around. How exactly do you go from scoring 18 goals in Manchester United in Premier League, scoring 24 goals overall, being by a mile their best player, to being finished in 3 months? How does that happen? It's absolutely absurd. How does it happen?
That's to tell you that, you know, there's a start to everything and then there's an end to it. He's aging, and we know how very hardworking Ronaldo could be. So I think it's winding down for him, but he still has a lot to offer.
Starting and ending is a process. You don't go from being a world-class superstar in the Ballon d'Or rankings where Ronaldo finished. Ronaldo finished 8th. So you don't go from being the 8th best player on the planet that has 8 billion people, to being finished in 3 months. Is absolutely ridiculous. For me, it's a load of gibberish. But I just feel that the fact that he was left out of the starting lineup, Portugal is his team. That is his team. That is Ronaldo's team. Regardless of his performances for club level, Portugal is always the team where he shows his talent and exhibits that he's one of the greatest of all time. So to leave him on the bench for such a crucial game, for me, was just the nail on the coffin, and I don't feel he deserves it.
Yeah, probably you're actually saying this because you've admired him and followed his work over the years.
Okay, realistically, based on facts, how do you go from scoring 18 goals to finished in 3 months?
Wow, that's some of the things that happened in the world of football, you know. It's just one of those things.
I haven't heard of it happen ever in my life.
Maybe this is the first. There's always the first.
But there's always the first, but this is not the first. I just feel he still has a lot to offer. One of the reasons I feel he's not performing as well as he's supposed to perform is that he missed preseason. And that, I feel that played a huge role. That's one of the determining factors sometimes in how well you perform in the season. So the fact that he missed preseason, he hasn't had enough game time at Manchester United, I think that's what led to him being dropped for Portugal. Because you do not go from scoring 24 goals in Manchester United in a horrible footballing side to being finished. It doesn't happen like that.
Okay, so he asked the question and he answered it. You asked the question and then you answered it at the end of the day. All right, let's move from Cristiano Ronaldo now. Talking about someone being finished or getting to the finish line is David Moyes. David Moyes might face a sack. That's the manager of West Ham amid tense relationship with club co-chairman David Sullivan. Now, there's this drama going around in the West Ham, and of course, the co-chairman David Sullivan has been brought into this picture. How would you say, how does it even play out when you have problem with the co-chairman or when you're top ranking in the club, and then it might be the end of your career in such environment?
Okay, first of all, I think we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I don't think it will be the end of his career. But there's always this thing about coaching staff and non-coaching staff. The executives want to make certain decisions for the football team, and the coaching staff feels that they know what is best for the footballing team because they are the ones overseeing what happens on the pitch. And at the end of the day, what happens on the pitch takes precedence over every single thing. But now, the issue here is that the use of agents for recruitment. David Moyes wants to oversee every single recruitment policy being done at West Ham. And the executives are saying, we have agents that can do this job diligently. They will carry out their due diligence. They understand the scouting environment and they can bring in good players. So there's always this clash, and people have said that it has led to their relationship being fractured. I'm not aware of that. I do not know about that. I feel it's still speculation. But I feel that they need to come to an understanding pertaining this issue. Because all managers want to oversee every single thing that happens at the club level, while the executive deals with things that happen with board membership and ownership and stuff like that. But the coaches want to oversee what happens at the club level. And I don't think that David Moyes is going to be given that power. And look at where exactly West Ham. Last season, we were talking about West Ham going to the Champions League. We felt that there was a possibility that they will win Europa League and go to the Champions League. For reasons or the other, it never really manifested. It did not happen. This season, they've not been as good as they were last season. But this is a team that still has ridiculous level of potential. Skamaka has come in, he hasn't really proven himself, and we're still talking about Antonio. Remember last season, that's how much they want this team to succeed. Last season, Antonio went to Jamaica for an international friendly. They had to book him a private jet for £100,000 to bring him back. That is how serious the executives are with this project. They want West Ham to be a top 6 team. How exactly do you do that? I don't know for now, because the top 6 teams, I don't see them taking their foot off the gas. But that is what they want with this team.
But when we have this kind of tension, even if you put a lot of money into it, we've seen that play out with, other clubs, players, coaches, and then in management. With their coaches, it didn't really turn out well because you have to put your head in the game, and then that's when the money and everything that you put into it will actually work. Do you see that working for West Ham? Okay,
it's a matter of understanding. Is David Moyes going to understand that they have agents that are willing to do this scouting job? And maybe, I don't know who is a better scouter between David Moyes and these agents, but maybe potentially do a better job than himself. Is he willing to accept that? Is he willing to understand that? And are the owners willing to accept that David Moyes feels he can do a better job and he should oversee every single transfer operation? We saw it with Alex Ferguson, but David Moyes has not really gotten to that pedestal in life as a coach yet. So it's a matter of understanding who exactly is going to be willing to drop defeat. That's going to be the determining factor on how they resolve this issue. But I don't think David Moyes is going to lose his job. I don't think.
All right. We just hope that he doesn't lose his job over some kind of tension with co-chairman. But that's the speculations for now. And like you said, it might just be a lot of people taking it way overboard. It might not seem like it is right now. So let's talk about Barcelona now. Barcelona has not been really themselves the Barcelona we used to know when we talk about finances. Of course, it's out there now that, Barcelona is suffering some kind of financial problems and all that. So Barcelona are not letting their guards down, but they're still tracking Arsenal and Brazil winger Gabriel Martinelli. I think that, a lot has happened to Barcelona in just a short possible time. And this is a club that, have won laurels, have done very well. A lot of Nigerians support Barcelona just because of their feat in the past. And now we see a club who is facing financial problems, struggling, but they're still aiming for good players that actually resuscitate the club. Do you think that Arsenal and Brazil winger Martinelli can do the job?
Well, rightly said, justifiably so. They're a team that is rich in history. Nobody can ever question that. And we've seen it. They've sold a percentage of their merchandise deal. They've sold a percentage of their television rights. That was the second lever. So are you going to see them utilize the third lever? But the thing with Gabriel Martinelli is that why exactly will Arteta sell him? there's a possibility that they win the league, and it's probably one of their best players. I would say Gabriel Jesus is their best player, and Martinelli and Odegaard, arguably, you can switch them. Who's the second best player, who's the third best player, and we'll have Saka in the conversation. So I just personally feel, but I understand why Barcelona want to do this, because Ansu Fati is their best left-sided winger. We'll have Ferran Torres in the conversation, but Ansu Fati has more potential, is more of a goal-scoring threat, has more productivity, but hasn't really lived up to the billing. After Messi left, they gave Ansu Fati number 10 wing. And what Barcelona might not want to do is that they do not want Rafinha and Dembele on both wings, because we know that they both want to play off the right-hand side. So Gabriel Martinelli will actually be a very, very good transfer deal for them. But one, does Martinelli want to come to Barcelona? And Barcelona, can they afford Martinelli? I'm looking at Martinelli. I personally feel that in the next 3-4 years, Martinelli will be in the conversation for one of the best wingers in the Premier League. So why would Arsenal let go of Martinelli? And even if they were ever going to let go of Martinelli, it would be at a very exorbitant price. I don't think Barcelona can afford that right now. So I don't see this deal manifesting. I don't see it cascading into a football deal. It's not just going to work, in my opinion. If he goes there, I believe he's going to go there to be a superstar. Look, this man has quintessential ability on the football. Nobody is questioning that. I'm a huge fan of Martinelli. But if I'm Arteta and if I'm Arsenal Footballing Club, we have a chance to win the Premier League. Martinelli is a key part. Why would we sell him? And who exactly is the replacement for Martinelli? Who do you get in the footballing world now that replaces Martinelli and integrates himself as well as Martinelli has in that team? You can't get anybody, so I don't think it would be wise on Arsenal's part to sell him.
Okay, these are speculations until that signing has been made. We can never really say that this is what is happening. But the question still remains, who replaces Martinelli if he eventually wants to leave Arsenal? And are Arsenal even ready to let Martinelli go? That's the questions a lot of people will have in their minds. Only time can answer those questions. And that's how we call it a close on this edition. Okay, this episode. Okay, we've had one in the morning. So this time, this is how we call it a close. But before then, we'll say thank you to Suleiman for
Thank
your
you
analysis.
very much to you for having me.
Okay, it is always a pleasure having you on 360 Sports. So we'll see you again another time. And this is how we call it a close once again. My name is Martia Umar. Bye for now.